Hey, everybody. Welcome in to episode 54 of the Fuzed Relativity Podcast. Friday night, 9 o'clock, kind of doing what we do. Back for another episode. Excited to be here. John, how are you doing this week?
That is a good question. And a good question that I cannot answer.
Come on, we don't have Kirk. You got to come up with some better stuff at the
So,
beginning of the show.
I know. So, after last week, I spent the whole weekend cleaning, pretty much. You can hide an enormous amount of shit in a small area.
Yes.
Like,
we know this.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible how much stuff we managed to get out of the apartment.
That's good.
And then, yeah, it's like I'm not worried, but it's just that anticipation, or more so, just unknowing is what's getting me. And for those who don't or aren't familiar, we were told we had to have our apartment inspected because it was a little on the dirty side when they came in to do stuff 2 months ago. And they didn't tell us until a week. But we thought about it, and both me and my wife work in healthcare, and it's been a rough 2 years. So, yeah, it needed some TLC.
Well, fix it. You move on.
Yep.
You know, up and away, and all that jazz. Keep positive. Remember, we had that little motivational
Yes.
speech. Don't let the little stuff get to you. Just fix it. We got. Sorry, I was going to cut you off because I just got excited, and I know you're still talking, but my new printer came in this week. John's got his new printer in. We are going to talk about that this evening. But more importantly, the first thing, John, I wanted to bring up. Remember when I was doing Kirk's Rewind?
Yes.
Well, I had gone through all of our episodes to make said rewind for Kirk, and we did an episode on the future of wars.
Yes.
And that was kind of an idea that you had brought up that we ended up talking about. And I wanted to get your opinion because it kind of seems like you were a little bit right, maybe not 100% right, but based off of what we're seeing in Ukraine at this moment, things are kind of molding together in that fashion. So talk about it. What do you got?
Well, sorry, I'm trying to get my headphone plugged back in. Oh, screw it. Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I was seeing all of the sanctions and everything that is being put in place against Russia. And this is not exactly 100% what I predicted what would happen, but it's pretty close. Because even if you look at like the Russian propaganda that they're playing out, they're trying very, very hard to make it seem like, everything's okay, and this is all going to plan and all this other stuff. But look at they're still having a massive protest of their people. Like, people don't want this. No one wanted this war. And I don't want to speculate on anything because I have no idea, but I think it was a last ditch effort, and I think, like many people have been saying over the last weeks, this is going to be studied to like crazy.
Well, it's certainly an interesting speculation, as far as war is concerned, because I've been seeing so many different things on it. World War III, and then it's nothing, and then it goes back and forth.
And that's just it. The one thing left that would potentially cause World War III would be if Russia grew a pair. And no, I don't want to even say that because that's the wrong terminology. But if they did the mistake of launching a nuke,
yeah, let's not hope for that.
no,
come on, John.
But that's the only escalation there, and that's what everyone's on edge about because obviously no one wants to get nuked. I don't necessarily think it's that. Like, I'm in the camp that most of their nuclear missiles are probably not necessarily 100% operational. You know, with all the corruption and everything, just look at the military supplies that they've been using. Like, I saw someone, there was a tweet that popped up that was talking about them using Gatling guns on the back of some trailers again because, you know, they're just losing so much equipment. Right. In fact, like I find this funny that Ukraine now has more tanks than they started with.
Well, yeah, that's a matter of they thought it was going to be easy and it wasn't as easy as it went. And thinking about the future of wars, curious as to maybe why they haven't used more of the electronic stuff. Well, I guess it's not quite the same as if you were to hit somewhere else, but
this is actually a good point. This was something that was being brought up. Like, they were talking about their hypersonic missiles. They're missiles that can go like Mach 10, which, you know, fascinating tech. They were talking about it for years and years, and everyone's like, oh, they're using the hypersonic missiles. They're designed to go to war. During the Cold War, they weren't planning on going to war with Ukraine or with Europe. It was a war against us, America. So almost all of their armaments are designed to go against American forces. That's why the hypersonic missiles were such a big deal, because they could theoretically go fast enough to penetrate a aircraft carrier's defensive shield. Ukraine doesn't have any of that. There's nothing that Ukraine has that would warrant shooting something that can go Mach 10 at it, but yet they're still doing it.
Well, and the whole thing, I mean, I've been on both sides of this whole thing. I've been following it, and I don't know how I technically feel about it. It's awful, you know, for everyone involved, but realistically, I've been worried about it, and then I'm not worried about it.
Oh, I see what
the
you're
whole,
saying.
you
When
know,
you
the
said
whole thing
both
is,
sides, I was like, wait.
well, yeah, not both sides of this. I mean,
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Like, both sides of being worried, not pro Russia, pro Ukraine.
Well, no. That would be weird if I'm like one minute I'm go Ukraine and then go Russia. What is this? The basketball game? Come on.
I was gonna say 1996 Super Bowl in our house.
Right. So yeah, Broncos Packers. Don't I got it.
To give the context, because, you know, we know what we're talking about, but yeah, we're Packers and Broncos, and having to cheer for both of them was interesting. I was the only one cheering for the Packers, I think.
I can't remember. It was a while ago, but dude, and don't get me started on the NFL, because holy crap, I could talk for a whole podcast about the NFL, and it just doesn't need to be done, and people have already heard it. But it seems to me, listening back to that episode, I remember thinking about how the future of wars is so much different than even going back to the Cold War. It's so much different now. It's kind of amazing from an outside view to look at, but still very scary from an inside view.
Well, and that's just it. Like, that's why I think all the fear mongering about, oh, we need, a military and all that, it's kind of pointless. Like, if China decided that it really wanted to invade the United States, I don't think we would be able to stop it. But I don't think that's something we would ever have to worry about. And I think with Russia, the fact that Russia is likely going to go back to like pre Cold War era levels. Like, I personally think that Russia is likely going to get broken up again into even smaller pieces.
Certainly a possibility.
Because it's almost like it'll have to do that just to save face, almost. Because as it stands, there is going to be so much public backlash for any company that tries to go back into Russia. Even though, from a humanitarian standpoint, we should be shipping them necessities, or, still trading necessities. But people are going to very quickly... What's that?
Oh, I saw a story about the hacker group Anonymous said that they targeted Nestle because Nestle hadn't pulled out of Russia yet.
Yeah, it was weird. The list of essentials that they said they were selling, that I wouldn't necessarily quantify them as essential.
Well, yeah. the only one I could really see that was like, was baby food. And I thought, okay, well, if you're selling baby food, then that's one that would be considered a necessity. But chances are, if you're selling baby food, you're probably selling Swiss Miss chocolate cocoa mix too. It's different company.
But
anyway,
my thing is, like, I'm gonna say the name or not wrong because I unfortunately, but is it Renault, the car manufacturer? They started production back up in Russia, and they got bombarded with people who will probably never be able to afford a Renault, and so they pulled back out. Like, it is going to be hard for any company for the foreseeable future to do business in Russia. Like, even I don't want to misquote this, but I saw that Germany's going to be energy independent by like 2 years from now. Like, it's this war has crippled Russia, and this is why I thought it would never happen. It's like, if they had done what I thought they were doing and what everyone thought they were doing by just putting Russian stuff in territories and then claiming them like they did Crimea, that I could understand. But the full invasion was just like, it's crippled Russia. And I don't think there will be any other country that is going to attempt that. Like, Mexico is not going to say, I'm going to invade Texas. Like, that's...
Well, and I think the overarching story, I guess we could take from this, is a war now, 2022, everybody is in it. Everybody's involved, even though it's between Russia and Ukraine. The whole world is watching and involved in it. And it affects everybody. I mean, look at our gas prices. And, the world economy is everybody's taking a second to be like, oh, I don't know how the things are going to actually play out. And it's affecting everybody, even though it's between two countries.
See, I'm going to rant about gas prices because you brought it up. Are people just as bad as goldfish when it comes to remembering shit? Like, it could just be me because this was a painful part. But a decade ago, gas was more expensive. Like,
false. I see where you're going, because a decade ago, gas was $3 and some cents a gallon here in Denver. But it was never $399. And so
Yeah.
yes, I understand. Yes, there was expensive $349, $359, but considering where gas was a month ago or 2 months ago.
No, I get that. But that is also a bit on the gas company, or not gas companies, but the oil companies, because the price of per barrel now is way cheaper than it was a decade ago.
Well, and we could go into, we don't have to turn our podcast into bashing oil companies and all that.
Oh,
bullshit,
I would love to.
Well, of course you would, but that's not the point. The point is we are going to, we're going to skip that for now, and we're going to say,
let's talk about plastic.
Okay, what about plastic? I'm game.
Oh, no. I was trying to segue into 3D printing.
I figured that. I was calling your bluff, but
sorry, I will say I found out an interesting thing this week.
What's that?
Because I'm hearing echoing. PLA, which is corn, or in theory, it's made from corn, so in theory, it's biodegradable. Obviously, that's not 100% the case. All PLA now is composites. Like the shiny filament usually has PETG in it.
Yeah, I did see that they were making composite filaments. It seemed to be when you look at the specifications, especially on some of them, when they come in and you see the base melting temperature is 210, what the recommended print temperature is. It's never been that high for PLA, so they have to be adding extra stuff to it.
Well, and that's just it. Like, I've always printed at 210, but that's just I very much don't like messing with settings. So I always just leave it default on Prusa, and Prusa is 215 on the first layer, 210 on, but that's for Prusa's filament, which I'm assuming is also potentially a composite. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
Even more interesting is I got my new printer in yesterday and I built it.
Yes. Oh, you know what?
And this printer is a monstrosity.
Yeah, I will try and get this up on. You talk about it while I work on this.
So, my new printer came in. It is a G-Tech A30T, and the thing's gigantic. I was kind of shocked by it a little bit because it's what I wanted, but I just maybe didn't realize how big this thing was. I put it in front of my old printer, and basically it dwarfs it because it's so big. And so I'm happy. I just have to figure out where I'm going to put the damn thing. And essentially it's got a 12-inch build plate, 12-inch squared, so it's 12 by 12, and then 15 inches high. But it also does 3 colors at once, which is super cool. I did the test print on it last night. It only took about an hour to build from start to finish, which is it's pretty good for a 3D printer, honestly. And I did the just a test calibration print, and it does exactly what it said it's going to do. I printed a cube, and it did mix colors like it was supposed to. So that's the whole.
Send me that if you can.
Send you what?
Oh, if you have a picture of the cube, send me that. I'm trying to get it.
Oh, trying to get a picture. Yeah. I don't have the cube in front of me, so we'll get to that in a second. But it does mix the colors as it's supposed to. So as it's printing, it mixes the 3 colors together to make a different color, which is really cool. They gave me some really weird neutral colors to test with because they always send you a little scrap just to play with. And I used those, and it was black, like a red, brown, and a copper. And so it's kind of hard to see the neutral colors on it, but each outside layer on the cube was a different color, a different solid color. So it actually tells you how it's going to be. Thank you. It actually tells you how it's going to put the outside color as a different, basically as a different color in the program.
Is any of that color puke? Because that's what it smells like. Because bam.
Hey, Kirk's here.
There's a scheduling conflict at the bar, and I'm gonna go see Brian Posehn tomorrow, but I got an extra night off. But yeah, so I figured I'd come and try to rev up the poor ratings. After I left, I heard it really tanked. So
well, I don't know if it tanked. We were just talking about 3D printing and my new printer that came in. And then I see a blast from the past, which is totally fitting.
That's yes. That's why I named it that. So and John, you're not like tanned and toned now. You're not like, you don't have a deep tan on it. You're still pale. Is anything different? Okay, good.
He tried to start the show off with a bummer, and I didn't let it happen. Just so you know, Kirk.
You did a preemptive bummer?
No, I just stopped it, and we went to something else. And then we started talking about the war in Ukraine, and that was sad. So then we switched to 3D printing.
Can I just real quick? I came from Ian's place. The guy, you know how you're a female impersonator. Well, when you female impersonate, one of the stops is Ian's.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of an armadillo egg as food? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh my gee! Oh, you got it. Okay, so imagine Ian's wife hollowed out it was a jalapeno and stuffed it with cream cheese. Okay, so you're with me so far.
On it so far, yeah.
She surrounded that with ground beef, and then she wrapped that ground beef in bacon. It was so damn good. It was like, and I got props because I ate it with my hands. I guess you could use silverware, but it was like a donut. You know what I mean? It was like you could hold it, and it was just of deliciousness. So why? I don't need to get silverware in between me and this. This is awesome.
This is only gonna last two bites tops. So yes.
It took several. It was like you got to get Ian to give his wife, your wife, the recipe to make this, because you would. I mean, all of what I just said is so good.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I mean, I want to eat it.
Here's the thing, and then maybe the next time we play. Here's the thing. Maybe next time we play music, we do it over at Ian's place, because he doesn't have neighbors who complain about the noise. And then he has a bass, and then there's a bar in his garage. So those are 3 points.
Yes.
When you have a chance, make it over. Yeah, and we'll rock out or something. But John, how many prostitutes have you scattered about the hiking trails? Any new ones that you want to discuss? It's still pending, so you can't legally. All right, I get it. Sure.
I've got it.
John,
yeah.
John got the picture up of the 3D printer that I added to my room, and you can see it's got 3 tubes running down from each spool of filament. It's pretty cool. It's a big thing though. I don't know where I'm going to put it. And after the show, I'm going to work on making something a little more exciting than a cube, but the cube was pretty cool.
So, all right, here's the cube.
Oh, okay, it's got a Z. It looks like Zorro. It's got a Z in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's the cube.
and honestly, you've got it already pretty well calibrated.
Yes. I spent some time before I test printed it to calibrate it, and it did pretty well. The one gripe I have about this particular one was the build plate. Some of them have glass, some of them have removable mats. This one has a sticky mat that goes on top. Terrible plan.
Oh, and then you let me go back.
Basically,
so it just clips on.
It doesn't clip. It just has like a sticky on the bottom, so you just lay it down like you would a piece of transfer tape or something. It's a bad design. I'm gonna immediately invest in a different product for that. But it adhered well, but you get bubbles when the heat bed warms up. It starts to bubble on you,
Gotcha.
which is it's just not a good design. But I would
Does,
rather
does
go
it,
in.
Does it actually pop like a blister? Like when you say bubble, like, or is it just like it just bubble and you like throw it away?
No, it's just air underneath of the mat, and then when it heats up, it bubbles up.
Yeah, because it just expands and bubbles.
So basically, all I have to do is just flatten it out and readjust it, but it's not good for multiple use. So I think I'll probably put a little different surface on there. But if that's the worst,
yeah, I was gonna say you should be able to get a glass sheet for it without too much trouble, I would imagine.
yeah, I'm not worried about it. And if that's the worst that I have to gripe about, yeah.
So I think I will be able to switch you over to Prusa Slicer, though, or Prusa Slicer. I realize I've been saying that wrong. Let me get off of this. Oh, and I've done that. There we go.
We're blasting off.
Kirk's back, so he's nervous.
Yeah. So in Prusa Slicer, they have a new thing where you can paint. And with this paint, you can paint different colors, and it will slice those into different colors for multi-filament machines.
Well, what I can tell you is I have my own software for that already. And apparently it is functional in Cura, so I can actually do the same thing in my new software and run it through Cura. So I may not switch over to yours, but what is cool, and I don't know if I told you this, but it actually gives me, because I set this print before I went to bed, and so I didn't really see the whole thing, but it gives you on the readout while it's printing, it actually tells you what the percentage is of each filament that is being used at any given moment.
Okay.
So it's actually mixing. I mean, it's a true mixture of the filaments based off of extruder. So if you wanted to make, if you had red, blue, and yellow loaded in, and you wanted to make orange, it would use 50% red, 50% yellow. Boom, you got orange.
Oh, can I ask a dumb guy question? Like you're talking about mixing colors. Like, could a 3D printer it handle like tie-dye? Like picture like a tie-dye shirt. Could it do the randomness, or does it need like precision?
Well, the thing is you have to tell it what colors to put where. So there's really not a random feature.
So it needs specific instructions. Like, I need this exactly. So abstract doesn't really work. It needs specific.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell it what to print. Otherwise, it's not going to know what to do. So basically, you have to tell it, I want this to be red. Now, if you were good enough, you could make it look random, but that would take a lot of time to make something look random that's planned.
Could you just give your 3D printer an edible and put on the Grateful Dead and go figure it out? Is that
might be this? That might be too close to consciousness for a robot. That might be when it switches over and
then just destroys us all. So
Yes.
so don't. If you're listening to this and you're a 3D printer novelist, do not give your 3D printer edibles or hallucinogens, because that's how Terminator got started. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, the red eye thing. Actually, which is funny because this new printer for the Z stop switch, for some reason, so it has a Z stop switch on both Z axes, and they both have red lights, which then in the dark look like eyeballs. So in the dark, it looks like the printer is staring you down. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I don't know if that was like a design thing, like that engineer who designed the we were talking about it, the rover on Mars that had consciousness and
It didn't
makes me
have
sad.
consciousness.
It just knew it was going to die.
Yes.
That's a big part of it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a robot, you shouldn't really know that you're about to die. I'm just,
Right. It'd just be like 1%, and then nothingness. That's all it is. That's, the battery drained and there's no woe is me.
So as far as it goes, John, G-Tech A30T, so far so good. I don't have any complaints. I haven't used it, but just to do the test cube, but the test cube came out relatively nice. It looks like it could be a pretty successful printer. I'm gonna, like I said, this weekend I'm gonna do something a little more complicated just to see
You're gonna make me set up my stupid Neptune tonight.
That was gonna be my next question: is had you set up your new one?
So the reason why I hadn't set it up, because it's been killing me. It's been sitting in a box since last weekend. Is I didn't want to set it up and then have to move next week. That's the same way like my daughter's bed is broken. Kind of broken. We have it held in place by zip ties right now. But we have the replacement bed, but if we have to move, why build an entire bed only to take it down?
Dismantle it. Yeah, all right.
So that's what's been... I've been holding off because A, I don't exactly have space to put a third printer, and B, considering why I might have to move, I wanted to kind of keep it minimal.
Okay, so do you feel your current 3D printer, do you sense it getting jealous because it knows it's in the box? Like its replacement is there?
Well, it's not even a replacement. If anything, it's booting my daughter's printer off the lineup.
So you can have more than one 3D printer working in tandem. It doesn't have to be like, okay, I got a new one, then the old one goes in the garage.
Oh no, like the fact that I had two printers going when I was printing, I printed an anniversary present before we found out we were having to do all of this. On one printer, it probably would have taken close to like 3 or 4 days. The fact that I had two printers, I had it done in like a day and a half.
Huh. And your wife said it was the best meal you ever made. It was the most edible thing you produced was by plastic and filament. So,
well, it's kind of made of corn, so it's it makes sense.
It's healthy.
Like,
it's a
damn, cats always are chewing on it.
Well, we'll be interested to see how your Elegoo turns out, because this one so far, I mean, I'm happy with it. I was a little worried when I ordered it, like I said, because there wasn't a lot of reviews, and it was something that even YouTube didn't really have a whole lot on. So,
which is why we kind of talked each other into this. Well, in fairness, I bought the Neptune and was just like, fuck it, YOLO. But then I talked you into the G-Tech because there is not a lot of information out there. So on our YouTube channel, there will be a lot of, as we figure out and experiment a lot of information that we can put together for both the Elegoo Neptune 2D and the G-Tech bunch of numbers that Chris has.
Sure, of course.
Well, a funny story. I thought about making a video on building this particular printer because I didn't find one on YouTube. I mean, they had the factory one where they make it look all easy.
Yeah.
And I chickened out because I didn't want to look stupid on a video, on a YouTube video about like, what the hell does this piece do?
Yeah, but
Well,
that's
you gotta edit. You edit.
yes. There's editing, and then also, what the hell does this piece do? Is kind of the backbone of social media these days.
The people checking it out are thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's you. In fact, that's inspired me. I probably won't build my Neptune tonight. I'll probably build it tomorrow and do a video of it.
There was a point in the instructions where it said plug this plug into the Molkey switch. I don't know what that is. How do I find the Molkey?
If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
But see, that's just it. That's the thing that, like, there's a certain level. Like, if I was asked to build a Prusa printer again, I built 2. I think that the second one went way faster than the first one. But
well, sure.
There's still certain elements that, like, if the average person, like, yes, it only took you an hour, but you have at least a little bit of knowledge with 3D printing and 3D printers. You kind of know what they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to look like. The average person doesn't necessarily. So, having those a video showing how it was built would be interesting.
Right.
Because isn't that what, like, the Geek Squad, or like that's basically like people don't have the time to learn the intricacies, like, because it's like whatever hobby, whatever thing you're into, you have to devote time to, and it seems like computers is thing. And if you just don't, then like you pay someone to do it who understands.
That's a good point, because if you were to ask the average person, like, if I were to ask Chris, or let's say if like Chris's oven would break, I'm guessing Chris would try and fix it himself, correct?
Probably.
But if his computer had an issue, he would go to someone.
You.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, despite the fact that, yes, I get that computers are intimidating, but they're essentially Legos at this point. You're not trying to solder in resistors, and you don't have to. You just plug it in.
Well, I like the idea of YouTube videos, though. When there's a YouTube video that I can follow that's like, okay, I can physically see what this person is doing, which is the only way I was able to build an Ender 3 kit, which was really hard.
I still don't understand why you got an Ender 3 kit.
Well, don't ask me. And you know what? It made me better because I understand 3D printers a lot better after building that stupid thing. But
see, and that's I would wholeheartedly agree, because I have built my Prusa printer. If something goes wrong, I know how to take it apart, and I feel comfortable taking it apart to fix it.
And honestly, the first printer I ever had was a Da Vinci.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A Da Vinci Junior, which was... Honestly, it was a good printer. It did exactly what it was supposed to, but it was a beginner 3D printer.
And it was also by Da Vinci, who was just a awful company.
Terrible. But
you outgrew it. It was good for a beginner, but you got to move on.
Well, and they did some really, like, they made it so that you could only use their filament, and then you couldn't find their filament because nobody bought their printers because you could only use their filament. It was a huge pain in the ass, but it was a good printer, and it came fully assembled. All you did was pull it out of the box and plug it in. It was pretty nice.
Nice.
But it was a it was a case of they didn't want to break away into the open source market like the other printers were. And then they started to lose a lot of money. So then they said, well, we'll just make a thing so that you can use any filament you want, but you're going to pay $50 for it. Well, if I'm going to pay $50, I might as well just buy an open source printer that's probably better, that's going to do the same damn thing.
Yeah, it seems like they priced themselves out of it. They proved their own extinction.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they're not even around anymore. They dropped the name and went to XYZ Printing.
Yeah, I did see you can still buy the adapter piece, but at this point, there's just no reason for me to go back to that thing.
Right.
No.
Give me a good old-fashioned extruder, and I'll eat my morning strudel, and I'm happy. Thank you very much. Am I right? Holler.
Yeah. No. So I'm excited about this one. I'm my first big project is going to be a 3D printed guitar on this thing. And Kirk, since you're here, the first guitar I'm going to make you is a Tinkercat guitar.
Okay, maybe I'll get it. Maybe then I'll understand.
Yeah, probably not. But you'll be like, well, what is this? It's a guitar. It doesn't look like a guitar. Well, because it's a Tinkercat.
All right. As long as it rocks like a guitar, I'll. I won't set it on fire. How about that? I won't smash that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's plastic. But I'm going to print one of these guitars once I get all the pieces put together, because I got to model it off of real pieces. So I got to get my pieces together. But once I get the pieces together, I have a big enough printer to now print in one piece, which is kind of cool. So it should be an interesting build, hopefully with multiple colors.
And it's funny that you bring up the guitar stuff, because once we started talking about it, I was like, maybe I should look and see the amount of stuff from my early 20s that I found. The god-awful belt buckles. But I found I have 2 sets of guitar parts. I've got 2 double pickups, 2 single pickups, and 12 pegs. So I have enough for 2 guitars.
Do you have any necks?
No, because I'm going to 3D print them. That was my whole thing.
Oh. Well,
3D printing a neck, I don't know.
Yeah,
this is what we're kind of spoiling it as it is. We want to try and see if it is possible to 3D print a neck that won't bend with the tension on an electric guitar string. We don't know if it's going to work. It's probably not going to work, but we're going to try. I'm going to try.
All right.
Hey, if it works, I'm happy and kudos, but I'm just it's like 200 pounds of tension on that string.
Yeah, I know.
Well, either way, that's my first project. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to look really cool when it's all done. I've been modeling it over the last week, and I'll be able to play it at Kirk's place when we jam.
So I want to get someone else's opinion. Is it okay if I kind of spoil your thing?
Are you okay?
That's why I'm asking you, because I wanted to get Kirk's opinion.
Go for it.
Okay,
spoil his thing. Go ahead.
So, Kirk, if I were to say I'm building a moon guitar, what would you think?
I initially thought sort of the fingernail type moon, like kind of the half shape, because that was the shape I was picturing.
Yeah, see, when I got the picture from Chris, it's a full moon.
It is a full moon.
Yes.
It's pressing ham.
Which is funny, Kirk, because his text message to me was, I didn't think you were going to print a full-ass moon.
Yeah.
It's just when you say I'm going to build a moon guitar, like my first thought was, oh, a crescent moon. That would be kind of cool.
Right. It's almost like a flying V, like kind
yeah.
of yeah.
And then it was just like full moon. I was like, I don't dislike it. It's just that wasn't exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, it's weird how moon and I don't know. Seems like that almost like is a little psychological test. Like when you say moon, what do you picture?
Yeah.
Well, screw you guys. I'm going with the full moon.
What about remember the McDonald's commercial where there was like the moon? He had a moon face and he was playing the piano and singing. I think that was a half moon or fingernail moon. Do you guys?
Well, guess what? I picked full moon because 2 reasons. 1, circle for my first one is a very simple shape. Number 2, I do what I want. Number 3, it looks like a banjo.
I was gonna say I typed in moon
Okay.
guitar and most of them are just banjos.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do what I want and just I'm gonna roll with it. It's gonna look like a moon.
I do what I want to do. Say what I want to say. Dance.
I will give you props, Chris, because all of the moon guitars that are, actually the prominent design is a crescent or like half moon.
So
Right.
you went. Everybody thinks one that you zagged.
I zag. I always zag, Kirk.
In fact, this one looks like a banana. Hold on.
Whiteboard's coming up. There it is.
Like, I get that it's supposed to be a moon, but that looks like a banana.
Yeah.
Like that's a banana, not a moon.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to play that. It's very slippery.
See, like that.
The monkeys will be coming after you.
Yeah, they won't. Yeah, like if you don't do a Monkeys cover with a banana guitar, then it's not gonna go well.
See, and all mine is you just don't take the cutout. You just keep it going.
It's this.
Yeah.
Yep. Full circle. Full circle. That's very, very Buddhist of you.
I mean, when I first thought of moon, I thought of Neil Armstrong's pressed ham, but I went with, a normal moon. So
Right. The fact that he didn't moon us on the moon, that's a mature man. It's a better man than I.
well, that's because if you moon someone on the moon, vacuum of space, you'd be dead. So it's the last thing you'd ever do.
But because you could do it from inside the capsule.
It's totally worth it. He died doing what he loved, showing his bare ass to everybody.
Speaking of the moon, though, they decided they're going to pick a second ship for Artemis to keep that going for some reason.
Well, the SLS apparently is getting ready to go back up for tests. So
The $4 billion rocket.
they might be trying to weasel back the SLS rocket. And then I saw today another space story was that Firefly has actually just got a bunch of funding and they're going to do a second test on their orbital rocket.
So, are they the first time they came up pregnant? And they're just
no, they were their first mission was a complete failure. They did not make it far.
But
and then Firefly, I couldn't remember if we talked about Firefly or not.
I don't remember it, especially since it was. I mean, that one was a bit on the.
It could be that the person who initially invested in the company and basically owned it was a Ukrainian guy, so that could be why it was in the news. But
yeah, it looks like
it failed.
He was,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say he was forced to sell off, and there was a whole lot of political stuff that went into it. But they're gonna try for a second orbital.
Well, they also picked SpaceX for its landing. Huh. Yeah, it only failed 6 months ago, so that's in space time. That's relatively short.
Did space time have to adjust for daylight savings time too?
No. Oh, now we have you here. Did you the fact that it might be going away for good?
I thought Congress they voted to keep it. Wasn't that the vote that they go?
Did they
"We're gonna-"
vote? I didn't pay much attention to it after the initial announcement.
I thought there was some announcement of like they voted to keep it.
Yeah,
Which
it's
as an
not going
Arizona-
anywhere.
Yeah, as Arizona, it annoys me. I just like everybody in the whole world except one state goes, no. I kind of like that.
Well,
It's just there's always that one thing to annoy you. And I think that's what it is, Kirk. It's just like, you're from Arizona. You're going to hate this. We're going to do it anyway.
Right. And when you move out of Arizona, you're like, what? I got to change for some reason, my clock in my car for the last couple of months was like an hour ahead. So it was an hour off. And I never took the time to figure out why to fix it. But then daylight savings time came and now it's fixed. So boom, I'm back on schedule.
See?
I just had to wait it out. I said just for 7 weeks, I had to just go, it's actually an hour different. It wasn't that hard.
But then when it got fixed, you were just like, yeah, daylight savings time rocks.
No, I never said no. That thought will never. Well, yes, I didn't have to fix my clock. Thank you, daylight save. That's the only time that's true. It's the first time I enjoyed daylight savings time.
Yeah, no, it hasn't failed yet. It passed the Senate, so.
But the bill is to make it permanent, is what I understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they tried it like a while ago and it didn't work, and then they don't think it's going to work this time. And
there's why?
I'm just curious. Yeah, what lobbyist? What like what big tobacco? Who's big time? You know what I mean? I'm tired of changing my clocks back and forward. I'm gonna spend billions of dollars to pay people to get that to not happen.
Like it's the atomic clock community, Kirk.
They don't. What it is?
Yes.
What?
Chris or John? Do you have a guess, John? Like who would benefit to keep changing the clocks?
I don't.
Clock people? You wear out your clock, so you got to buy another one because you're wearing it out.
No, it's like I get the parent thing, like, oh, for like a month you'll have to go to kids will have to go to school in the dark. Like, okay, that's like the worst time you would have to go, or the time where it's going to be the darkest the longest is over winter break. Like, I can kind of see it, but at the same time I'm like, I just don't. I'm for getting rid of it.
What about you? Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
I don't care.
All right. You have no hunt in the dog.
No, I got no dog in the fight. It's
like it's one of those things that you get used to, right? Us growing up with it, it's great in the fall because you get an extra hour of sleep. You wake up and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. You're like, oh. In the spring, it sucks because you wake up and you're like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. That's what? And then your whole week's off, and then everything goes back to normal.
Well, and the weird part growing up in Arizona, because we didn't do it, it would be like all of a sudden, like all of the TV shows were like shifted an hour. Like just weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because it's still 6 o'clock, but instead of the news, you're starting to get like sitcoms. It was just odd.
That
Yeah.
would be
So
odd.
is this conversation.
Eh.
Well, Kirk, I know you popped on. It was probably not planned, but do you have at least a joke for us this evening?
Uh,
I threw him on the spot. He's not going to have one.
well, I mean, I was playing guitar. I could play guitar. I could play mandolin. A joke. All right. Okay? It's not my joke, but do you want a really long joke? It was like, did you guys ever see the Aristocrats? The movie The Aristocrats,
Yes, I did.
where they said the really long, filthy jokes. This was like in the bonus features of it was an extra. It was a side joke. So okay, so a guy in like World War II, he was he was fighting on the U.S. side, and he was in Belgium, and he had this peach pie that was just the best peach pie he ever had. So he comes back home after the war, family, wife, kids, the whole deal. He's got, and then he's like old man, 70 years old. He's got 3 weeks to live, and he goes, well, before I die, I want one more of that peach pie that I had, the best peach pie I ever had. So he travels, he books passage, he gets on a ship, he travels, the cruise ship sinks on the way there. So he's able to get some, he makes a raft with some stuff he's tied together. He floats, he keeps floating. He gets attacked by sharks. He battles them off. He loses an arm. He gets to the beach. He makes it there. He gets on a bus. He travels all the way to Belgium. He gets a crosstown bus. Sure, they have them in Europe. He goes, he finds it. He's like a stump. He's bleeding to death. He's ravaged. He's starving. He finds that restaurant, and he goes in. And he goes, hey, what would you like, sir? I want a piece of that peach pie. And the waitress goes, oh, I'm sorry. I just sold the last piece 20 minutes ago. And he goes, I'll just have coffee then. Like, yeah, I mean, he just went with it. He just, yeah, all right, okay. So that's what it's a, I don't know. It's a I don't know if it's a crowd plea. You either like that joke or you don't.
I just felt sad for the guy who didn't get his pie.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he wanted. Just a cup of coffee. All right. There. Well, there's a class. The way it was Larry Miller, really, really funny comedian. You've seen him on he's always plays like the stuffy, douchey principal in 10 Things I Hate About You, or he's like the stuffy, douchey guy. So
Yeah.
so fun. That guy's hilarious. If you don't know Larry Miller, look up Larry Miller. You'll laugh. He has a really funny thing about the stages of drinking, and the devil's on your shoulder, and then the devil's bartending, and then the devil's giving you a free shot. It's really, really funny.
Well, nice. I put you on the spot because statistically, if someone just walks up and says, hey, you got a joke for me? 90% of the time you can't think of one. It's like on the spot, just, I don't know any jokes.
It was, yeah, it's it was going through the Rolodex, which is an old, young people don't know what that is anymore, but you used to write on paper and you'd spin this thing. But that's kind of what it is.
It's like I had that happen the other day, and somebody was, somebody came up to me and was like, hey man, you got a joke today? And I said, I thought about it, and I was like, maybe. You ever heard about the one with the pirate and the ship steering wheel attached to the front of his pants?
Oh, yeah. Is it you're driving me nuts?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah. Way to ruin the joke, Kirk.
I was gonna say
that's the best part. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, you've got 2 kids, Chris. You should be fluent in dad jokes.
I'm one big dad joke. So
are we going to off topic it?
I believe that is the key. What are we doing? You got
So,
one?
yes, I learned this week that I'm reading this from Reddit, but on average, half of all service dogs fail their training. Due to this poor rate, South Korea experimented with cloning service dogs that had already passed their training. The resulting clones passed at much higher than average. They've been cloning dogs in South Korea. I was talking about this with someone. Oh yeah, it was my daughter when we were playing Minecraft. I asked her who's the most famous sheep, and
Dolly.
Yeah.
Dolly's the most famous sheep.
because it was the first sheep ever cloned. I didn't realize they were still cloning animals. Like, I know they were doing it for like preservation and stuff like that, but yeah,
Yeah, they're not going to just stop. They're like, all right, we got one. We're done.
but you would think that, you know, with how much controversy Dolly whipped up, that continued cloning experiments would be, you know, at least newsworthy.
Well, and what old school thinking here? Can't you just breed the dogs that pass the seeing eye the test? Can't you just breed them with other dogs that pass the test, and then, I mean,
You know, I would assume that they would have tried that, right?
that seems like the easy way to do it.
Yeah, but cloning, it's just, it just blew my mind. Like, and that's what got me, was the fact that I had to read, and it was like, they have cloned dogs? Like, I didn't realize they just continued doing that. Granted, I didn't stay up to, like, Dolly was what, 98, mid-90s?
Yeah, ish. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, and, like, it was big back then, but then it just kind of, as fast as, you know, the cloned sheep lives, the cloned sheep died, and then it's just, all interest in cloned animals was, like, gone.
It wasn't hot. It wasn't sexy anymore. The news didn't have the sizzle.
So I just, 25 years later, learning that there's cloned service animals out there, just bizarre.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Well, I've got essentially, I found a story about scientists found microplastics in human blood.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's not creepy at all.
Just from the drinking water, we're drinking it. Is that what it is?
It was 80% of the people they tested.
Yeah, essentially they're saying like plastic is everywhere and we're slowly introducing it into our bloodstreams and it's unfilterable. So
You know what? I think maybe people like the environmentalists, they'll be, instead of, when they die, instead of being like, buried or cremated, they can just be recycled.
That's a thing, though. It's not a very happy thing, but it's a thing.
People
Have you seen
compost themselves? Or
Yeah, they put like a tree seed, and they put you in this like capsule underneath the tree, and the tree just absorbs you.
so you fertilize the tree.
Yes.
I
You
just
know, you know what, Chris? If Chris, you did that, you know what you'd grow? You'd grow stinkweed. All right, hey yo, boom. All right.
Well, I thought it was an interesting story. That's why I brought it up for Up Topic, because I was like, that makes sense. You know, looking into, I read this conspiracy Reddit. I listened to a conspiracy theory about what the FDA, how food was treated. And it doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, well, like that was the old joke with hot dogs. There was an acceptable amount of rat feces.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's the fact that they go, hey, fast food is food. Hey, I don't. You don't care about my, like I said, the same care they put in like your news media is the same care they put into your fast food.
All I know is
bueno.
in World War II, before refrigeration was a thing, they would ship meat in they would basically put it in formaldehyde.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, totally toxic to humans, but it's cool.
Well, did
Better
you
than
see
nothing.
the correlation between like leaded gas and violent crimes? Like as soon as they started taking the lead out of gas, violent crimes like nosedived.
So leaded gas was making people mad?
Well, yeah, it was doing some things to people. That's why, like, I don't want to necessarily generalize it, but a lot of times, like, people that are in the like 50 and above range get aggressive very quickly.
They have short fuses.
Yeah. A lot of people are speculating that it's because of like lead paint and just lead was everywhere in that time frame.
Well, and also, and maybe 50 is a little young for this, but like Alzheimer's patients, when they get that dementia, like I've heard, like older people who were completely, nice and sweet and passive get.
So, yeah, I've got to be a tiptoe here. I have had a very elderly woman threaten to rip off my head and piss down my throat.
Wow.
Well, what did you do to provoke that, John?
I'm not going to say because I'm not going to say it because I did anything. It's because I don't. HIPAA is weird.
No, I understand. That was a joke.
I know. I'm just prefacing, like, it wasn't anything I did. It's just I can't go into any sort of details. But yeah, it was that was a thing.
Did you say you've already given a urine sample that's unnecessary, ma'am?
That would have been funnier to, but no.
Okay.
That was just like oh, please don't let there be anyone around here.
Yeah, you're one of the golden girls. You're not the golden shower girls. All right.
See, if only Kirk was around, things would have. You got to laugh. You diffuse the situation.
That's I've kind of know, like elderly people who their memory is going. It's I hate to say it, but like I remember my grandma when after the third time she would ask me the same question, the fourth time all bets were off. You know what I mean? Where are you working? Oh, I'm working here. All right, where are you working? Where are you here? Oh, I'm working. I'm betting on the ponies. Oh, is that going good? Yeah, it's better than most. Haven't got my knees broken by a bookie. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like she's not gonna remember anyway. It's different.
Right. All is good.
Well,
sweet.
It's about 10:50. Yeah, it's about that
I was
time.
going to say, it's episode 54. Kirk, surprised to see you in, but nice surprise. And don't you dare eat my cheese that's in your fridge, because I'll come for you.
That's a tall ask. I'll see what I can do.
There's some nice pepper jay in there. You can have that, but do not touch the mozzarella.
Pepper jay. All right.
What?
You forgot your cheese. Damn it.
Yeah. How stupid.
Nice delivery with the cheese. Delivery female impersonator guy.
I got some cheese today and I put it in his fridge for safekeeping. And I said, hey, I'll be over later to pick it up. And then I forgot.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I'll be over at 4:30. And guess what? Just like the cable guy, didn't show up at 4:30.
Yep. So, well, thank you for popping in, Kirk. It's always fun when you pop in. John, different episode, it's good though. We talked about a lot on like in an hour and 15 minutes. Everybody, we look forward to getting these 3D printers up and running. We'll keep you updated on that, and hopefully I'll have a YouTube video up pretty soon. I'm gonna try and do a little tutorial on this printer if anybody is interested to see how it functions and runs. I'm still gonna do a little more learning so I don't look like a dumbass on my YouTube video, which
That's tall act. That's gonna be tough.
I'm gonna do my best, Kirk. I know it's a I'm looking up the top of the hill, so I gotta
That's Mission Impossible. That's what that is.
Yes. Well, it's kind of nice to say this, John or Kirk. Do you got anything to say tonight?
Yeah.
Armadillo eggs. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, I will check that out because it did sound delicious, and I'm jealous. But what do? You brought it up. I didn't even know they were a thing. I have to look it up. So,
all right. You're welcome.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening and checking us out this evening. We will be back next week. John, are we doing Space Engineers tomorrow?
Depends.
Okay.
Yeah, that we'll see tomorrow.
All right. Well,
if John can buy some new Depends so he can relieve himself while doing it, then you guys are good.
Yes, incontinence for John. Yes, that's a big thing. Comes with the paleness.
All right.
So
we're outie, right?
Yes, we are out. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be probably on tomorrow. Space Engineers should be fun.
Definitely.
Until then,
Minecraft. Oh, sorry, definitely Minecraft in the morning. So more than likely Space Engineers, but yeah.
All right. Well, everybody hold tight for Space Engineers, and until then, go boldly, friends.